All right, we are live. Gotta let it breathe while we get the Facebook groups in here. Gotta wait for a couple green check marks across the board. Hope everybody's having a wonderful Friday night with football back. There we go. Welcome into another episode of the Dove Valley Deep Divers. I am your host, Erick Trickel, and joining me tonight is Lance Sanderson. Lance, my man, we didn't do the show last week. We took it off for Labor Day. Did you have a good Labor Day weekend? And are you excited? Football's back. We have a game. We had a game last night. And we have a game going on as we speak now.
I'm going to need you to pick up your energy level here because football's freaking back, baby. I'm so stoked about what is happening this weekend. Obviously, last weekend, we got college football back. My Wyoming Cowboys beat the Akron Zips 10-0. There was a great game between Texas and Ohio State, especially if you love defensive showdowns. Like, it was awesome to have college football back on TV this last weekend. But this week is what it's all about. Obviously, last night with the Eagles beating the Cowboys, you got the Chiefs and Chargers going on right now on YouTube. Broncos kick off at 2:05 against the Tennessee Titans here in Denver. I'm so freaking excited about what is happening right now in the world. Everything is right in the world when it comes to being a football fan. I'm just ready for it, dude. How are you?
I'm doing good. I learned my lesson that I need to watch where I spit now, apparently.
Yeah.
But I didn't watch any of the game last night, but that obviously filled up the news.
The dumbest thing ever. It was so dumb, dude. God, holy
Dak
cow.
Prescott spit in his direction. He got mad and spit on him. And before even the first snap of the game. But Thursday night, that's when my parents come over and we do game night. So we were busy doing that, and instead of watching football, and it's gonna stink because we got to obviously cancel it when Denver plays Thursday night football. But it's a good time with them. But I am excited that football's back. I am also quite predictably extremely tired with homeschooling the kiddo. It has been a rough start to it, I guess, and we started last week. And man, it's been long days, and she's been fighting it and all that. And she was fighting it a little bit before I came in here. She was doing some of her schoolwork with her mom, and I'm dreading next week. Next week, we have to start teaching her multiplication. I am dreading that.
Oh,
but
no.
That's beside the point. As we've talked about, football's back. The Broncos are kicking it off at home against the Tennessee Titans. That's going to be our focus of the show tonight. But before we get into it, let's say hello to some people in the chat. Of course, we have David Papa Bear McElrath coming in with a $5 super chat and being a YouTube member. We appreciate you, Papa Bear, and we appreciate the membership, and we appreciate the super chat. And he says, "Good evening, Broncos country. Hashtag 13-4. Let's go, Bo." I'm right there with you, 13-4. I'll believe it until they're not, or until they go out. If they go out and stink it up, and then I change my prediction because they're not at all what I'm expecting. We have String Guy saying, "Hi, all. Football's back. Chiefs Chargers game is going to be starting in a few minutes." This was a little over an hour ago before the game actually started. We have Pearl Heater coming in as a YouTube membership, as well as String Guy as a YouTube member. We appreciate you guys. If you're not a member on YouTube already, make sure you guys join up. We have a lot of great content, and I'm sure there's more content coming down the road. We have Ernie Mays coming in saying, "Go Broncos country only." Hello, Eric and Lance. Go Broncos country only. And he has the Broncos 31 to the Titans 14. We'll get to our score predictions here in a little bit. Ernie, mine and yours aren't too far apart. And David Youngkin says, "I think everyone should be worried about Greenlaw's injury. Last night, people are saying over and under for Greenlaw playing, and I got him playing 7 maybe." Yeah, I guess we can kick it off with the injury report today. Dre Greenlaw is out for the game, which is a little bit surprising. Earlier in the week, it was talked about that Greenlaw and Singleton are going to be on a pitch count, and now Greenlaw's out. Singleton's still in. But it's not just Greenlaw that's out. There's another name that was added to the injury report that's out in Malcolm Roach, who's an expected piece. And there is a third member, Nate Atkins. But we knew coming in that he was going to be out for this game as he was recovering from a surgery during the preseason. And so he's probably going to miss this week, probably going to miss next week, might be back for week 3. But Greenlaw, Roach, both big losses. But Greenlaw could be a potentially devastating loss due to to one of the Titans tight ends. Lance, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, my first initial thought is I'm not going to panic yet. These first 2 weeks of the season are obviously games that should be winnable games. And if you go back to what the Broncos did last season, and every game that they were favored, they dominated their opponents, and they just showed that they were capable of playing against teams that were worse than them. I mean, they were 10-0 against opponents that they were favored over, or 9-0 against opponents they were favored over, and then the one game that they won against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where they were an underdog. That was the only game that they won as an underdog. Yeah. So these two games, I mean, obviously Tennessee, they're NFL players on that roster for sure, but this is one of the worst teams in the NFL with a offense that we don't know exactly what's going to happen here with a rookie quarterback playing in a hostile environment in his first career game. And the history of that just whole situation is never a good thing. So I'm not necessarily worried about Dre Greenlaw right now. But moving down the road, if we go through week 2 and Greenlaw doesn't play, we get to week 3 where you have the Los Angeles Chargers, you got the Cincinnati game, you got the Philadelphia game. If he's not playing in those games, then my level of concern is really going to jump up and escalate. This week, I'm not so concerned about it unless Tennessee is really going to try to dictate running the football, because you also lose Malcolm Roach, who's one of your better interior run defenders along the defensive line. And that was something that the Broncos struggled with last season, was stopping the run specifically between the guards. So you lose a player like Roach, you lose a player like Greenlaw. That's 2 big losses against the Tennessee offensive line, where they went out and got a couple of upgrades. A guy like Kevin Zeitler came in from the Cincinnati Bengals, who was one of the better interior offensive linemen in the league last season. So let's see what happens with Peter Skoronski, who is a very high quality player on the interior on the left side. So this week, not so concerned unless Tennessee really wants to hammer the rock, which could lead to some issues for the Broncos defense, at least this week alone.
Yeah, I mean, as you hit the nail on the head here. Last year, the Broncos, they did great when they weren't the underdogs, but hey, they weren't the underdogs very often. 9 games where they went 1-7 in the games what they were. And in this one, the Titans are a little bit of underdogs, so hopefully the Broncos are able to handle business like they did last year. Because if you want to be a team that's contending, you got to win those games that you were. But speaking of underdog, Lance.
Yeah, guys, we got to say hello to this evening's presenting sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. Guys, football is back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more.
Yeah, that's right. Get your picks right, and you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. You can play with as little as $1. So if you think that you've got a beat on, Bo Nix or RJ Harvey or whatever player that they're going to do in, passing yards or receiving or touchdowns or rushing, whatever are going to do in week 1, download Underdog and you can win some money.
Yeah, guys, everyone's having so much fun playing Underdog and winning money while you're watching football. That's a touchdown, guys. Download the app today and sign up with promo code MHuddle to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code MHuddle. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you guys be next? Underdog. Make picks and win money.
Be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
Yeah, and thanks Underdog for the sponsorship. And as we shift focus back to the Titans here, you kind of touched on it. They did a lot to improve their offensive line. They brought in Dan Moore Jr. They brought in Kevin Zeitler, who I don't think he was among the best interior linemen last year. I think that he's starting to show that signs of decline. He's still a capable guard. Peter Skoronski, he's really coming along. And then Lloyd Cushenberry, who they brought in a few years ago, he was struggling last year before he got hurt. They also spent that high draft pick, not this last draft, but the draft before, to bring in J.C. Latham. And they've really invested on that offensive line, and it doesn't project so good. It's kind of it's kind of rough. Now, J.C. Latham, obviously last year, he was a rookie. He really struggled, was one of the worst tackles in the NFL last year. So when I turned on the Tennessee Titans preseason games to watch him, I was kind of expecting to see a little bit of improvement. But man, he looks worse from a technical standpoint. Granted, it's a limited sample size in the preseason, but he still played a decent amount. He saw some time with the second unit just getting him out there, and it was just a rough watch for him. Dan Moore Jr., he is not a great pass protector, great run defender. Peter Skoronski, he looks like he's going to be capable. Lloyd Cushenberry, he didn't play in the preseason, if I remember correctly. And then Kevin Zeitler also didn't play in it. So there's still a lot of unknowns with this offensive line. But with Malcolm Roach out, it can lead to some issues, as well as off the edges.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it was kind of funny today. Sean Payton was asked about Nick Bonito's big contract, which Nick Bonito got his contract. Nick and I were asked about this on, I believe, Monday, if we would see it happen. He got it right before the season happened, and same thing kind of happened with Patrick Surtain last year.
Mm-hmm.
Great deal. It's 104 years, 106 million with incentives that can take it up to 120 million. That's a good deal for him. It's 26.5 million on average per year basis without the incentives, making it 30 million with the incentives. And Lance, one thing real quick that Nick and I talked about a lot was wanting to see Nick Bonito earn it again, and throwing in the 14 million in incentives that are spread out over the 4 years. That's a way for him to earn it. Like, you can go and sit there and earn more money based off of your play. So congrats to him. He definitely deserved it. But one of the key matchups for this game, and I have some articles up that touch about it. I just have an article up or coming out on bold predictions for it. Nick Bonito should win that matchup against Dan Moore Jr. as a pass rusher, but I am not sure he's going to be able to win as a run defender.
Yeah, Dan Moore Jr. is actually a high-quality run defender. He plays really with great pad level, good hand placement. He's a good drive blocker when he gets attached. And Nick Bonito just doesn't have the lower half power and the strength in his legs to be able to set a firm edge. So Sean Payton also kind of you touched on it a little bit, but he said, when opponents are going to say, this is a paraphrase here, not a direct quote, so just bear with me. He said, when opponents are going to see Nick Bonito and Jonathan Cooper out there, they're probably going to target Nick Bonito in the running game, saying essentially what I'm just telling you, that he doesn't set a very firm edge. So that's going to be the big thing here. But when you go back and you watch last year with Dan Moore, when he was with the Pittsburgh Steelers, he was absolutely horrendous in pass protection. I pulled up his stats on Pro Football Focus going back to week 11. And now, granted, take this with a grain of salt. Russell Wilson was the starting quarterback there. Right? We all know how many sacks that he likes to take per game. But in week 11 against Baltimore, Dan Moore gave up 2 sacks in week 12 against Cleveland, 1 sack in week 14 against Cleveland again, another sack against Philadelphia in week 15, 2 sacks against Kansas City in week 17, and 2 sacks against Cincinnati in week 18. That's 10 total sacks in just 7 games. That is horrific pass protection. So Nick Bonito, you just went out and got paid. You got $26.5 million per year on your next new deal, slotting just above Montez Sweat, right below Brian Burns, which is about where you and I talked about multiple different times, saying $28 million is probably where he's going to land. 26.5, great deal for the Broncos. Go out and earn it, dude. You have a matchup here that you can win with that speed. You can win with that bend. You can win with that ghost move. You've got the counter move back to the inside now. The development that he has shown in the last 3 years has made Nick Bonito one of the more feared pass rushers in the NFL, and he can really take advantage of that against Cam Ward in this Titans offense.
Yeah, Cam Ward has a similar issue that Russell Wilson does too. So you brought up how Russell Wilson was the Steelers quarterback for Dan Moore Jr. last year and what he did. Cam Ward, Russell Wilson, they love the drift back in that pocket. That makes it much easier for edge rushers to get around the arch because they don't have to bend as much. So somebody as explosive as Nick Bonito, it's more of a straight line for him and less of having to arch that. But we have Glenn Ashley coming in saying, good morning, Eric, Lance, and Broncos country. So pumped for the first game against the Titans. Greenlaw missing is no issue. We want him to get right and play deep into the season. Hashtag smash the Titans, hashtag Sack City. I would say it is a slight issue because he was a big signing and he was meant to be a key piece and a key upgrade for this defense. But it's not a major issue right now. It's the Titans game the Broncos should win, and you have the Colts next. It's not like we're starting the season against the Chargers or the Chiefs and he's missing it, or the Eagles or one of these teams that Denver might have a tough time with. Granted, any given Sunday, anything can happen. Shouldn't overlook the Titans as much, but it's a game they should win. If it's a game that was expected to be close or a tough game for them, then the concern would be there. But he still was a big signing and it meant to be a key upgrade for this defense. Still a bit of an issue, but it's not how you start, it's how you finish. If you miss the first game, well, it misses the first 2 game. All right, that stinks, but players miss almost every single player misses a game nowadays with it at 17 games. Patrick Surtain missed a game or 2 last year. Yeah. So as long as he can play, I would say at least 13 games this season, I'd be fine with it. If he plays less than that, then we're kind of looking at a little bit of a bust of a signing. And to be honest, Denver, they had those 4 or 5 big signings, depending on how you want to count J.K. Dobbins and Trent Sherfield. Not all of them are going to hit.
Yeah. I think the biggest, like the most concerning thing with Greenlaw, like I said earlier, I'm not super concerned with it in week 1 and week 2, but quad injuries are like, they're finicky. They can fire up and get worse and worse and worse. So, putting him out there in a game where, not to say you don't need him to be with your defense, because he takes your defense from a top 5 defense to a top 1 defense. Like, that's how good of an impact player Dre Greenlaw can be at the linebacker position. But if you got to let him sit for the first couple of weeks of the season to heal that quad up and truly get back into game shape, that's the big thing. What's concerning to me, though, is this is another lower body soft tissue injury with Dre Greenlaw. Yeah, he popped the Achilles. We all know that in the Super Bowl, and that's just a freak thing. Those things happen. But it's been a hamstring. It's been a knee issue. It's been a quad issue with Dre Greenlaw throughout the course of his career, adding another one in a season where the Broncos are desperately needing a player like him, especially down the stretch. I like what Sean Payton said. This isn't for this week. This is for the long haul. We're being precautious with everything here and doing the best we can to make sure that we get an impact player like that ready to go for the tail end of the season. So, again, not a super big concern here, but once we get to weeks 3, 4, 5, maybe 6, when they go to, or week 7 when they go to London, or is it 6 they go to London to the Jets, or 7? I can't remember. Regardless, if we're that far and we still haven't seen Dre Greenlaw, that's a problem, and that's something that we really need to start pulling the panic meter way higher.
Yeah, I was going to say hello to some more people in the chat. We have Michael Roquille coming in with a membership, who is one of the members and has gifted multiple memberships as well as super chatting. We appreciate you, Michael. He says, good evening, Eric and Lance on the Death Valley Divers. Go Bo Broncos. We have David Youngkin saying Broncos went out to get players like Greenlaw to help stop the run, and he is out. Not good. Yeah, but it's not like it's the Eagles that we're playing week 1. Chase Wallner saying, not going to lie, guys, with all the pressure being on Denver, I feel nervous. Understandable. Denver, it's a weird feeling this year with how it is. Let's see here. We have we have James E saying, good evening, fellas. So excited. I'm going to stay awake all weekend. As somebody who does have multiple sleepless nights a week, I don't suggest it. Get your sleep, get your rest. It's possible to be excited and still get plenty of sleep. I don't, and my body hates it. And yeah. Phil McLaughlin coming in saying, good evening, Eric and Lance. Great to get Bonito signed. Who will be next, and what do you think the run-pass ratio will be? Well, who will be next? I could see one of Malcolm Roach or John Frankenmeyer's getting signed in the season, but not both. I think one will wait till after. There's been, John Frankenmeyer's has been very vocal about it. I've talked to people within the Broncos organization that have made it very clear that they would love to get a deal done, and they definitely could get a deal done. They have the salary cap available to do it. They have the cash on hand to do it, especially with some of what's been going around about what John Frankenmeyer is looking for, and about how he may be willing to take a little bit less to stay in Denver. One number that was thrown around was that he's looking for a deal about 10, 11, 12 million on average per year basis. A number I heard was between 14 and 16 million on average per year basis. Either way, it's still a discount off what he can get. So got a lot to work in it. We might not even see another one during the season. It might not be until after the season. So it's kind of tough. They got the main 4 done, or they got the big 3 done, and that's what was important here. Yeah. And it says, what do you think the run pass ratio will be? This is another tough one, because the Tennessee Titans interior defensive line is probably one of the best run defending defensive lines in the NFL. Their issue is on the outside. It's the linebackers working downhill, and getting Coton Barton isn't a great upgrade for that from last year. Cedric Gray wasn't great with that for them last year. Their safeties working downhill aren't great. Their corners aren't great working downhill outside of Roger McCreary. So you definitely have an opening on the outside, and Sean Payton did add a outside zone scheme to it. I could see Denver trying, especially early, to get that outside zone going, especially with Sean Payton wanting to get the run game going, wanting it to be fixed, and how impatient he can be at times, and taking pressure off and using the Titans game and the Colts game to basically jumpstart the run defense or the rushing game. But again, you got to be careful with that. You don't want to wear down your own players, and not being able to run inside can make things easier to defend on the outside. So it's a very questionable thing, and I don't think Sean Payton would, run the game to where they lose. If it's not working at a certain point, I would see them not necessarily giving up on it, but going more pass game to win. Going into the game, I think that Sean Payton would love to have a 60-40 run to pass ratio, but that just may not end up being feasible.
Well, and I think that the big thing here, and going back to RJ Harvey and J.K. Dobbins, the big signings and the big signing from J.K. Dobbins and going and getting RJ Harvey in the draft, those two players work really well working in outside zone because they have great vision and that ability to put their foot in the ground and explode through holes, even the small, tiny, minute holes. We saw that in the Arizona Cardinals game where RJ Harvey on that touchdown ran through a hole that was about as wide as I'm not a very big human. Everybody, if you've been to the Mile High Huddle meet and greet, you would know that. I'm 5'11", 165 pounds, and that's fully clothed, soaking wet, and wearing my work boots. So, but those guys being able to have that vision and the explosiveness, working laterally and trying to open up those cutback lanes is going to be something that's going to be interesting to see. If they do run a lot of duo looks, T'Vondre Sweat's going to have a day because that dude can two gap with pretty much the best. When he weighs 350 pounds with great length, a great anchor, like he can hold up against a guy specifically here in Luke Wattenberg because Luke Wattenberg doesn't have the leg power and the grip strength to hold on to a player like that and push him down the field. He's just not a drive blocker in that capacity. So the change in the scheme helps out multiple different players on the offensive line, but it also could be at the detriment of sticking with the identity that you've had over the last handful of seasons, because Sean Payton historically has liked to run a lot of inside zone and duo because they look very similar. And this offensive line, I think it's what totals 6 missed starts between Mike McGlinchey and Luke Wattenberg over the last 2 seasons. They've played 900 snaps apiece. All 5 offensive linemen have played at least 900 snaps apiece. They have that cohesion. They have that collective identity. So to go so drastically away from what they used to do very well is not necessarily a great idea when you have an interior defensive line that has one of the most explosive run defenders in Jeffrey Simmons and a guy that can two gap with the best in the NFL in T'Vondre Sweat. So it's kind of a mixed bag of reactions here. But I do think I'm with you, Eric. I do think they want to try to jumpstart this running game, and going against this Tennessee Titans defense, where you have, again, a rookie quarterback on the other side. You don't need to take a whole lot of chances offensively. You can still limit what Tennessee is going to be able to do with their offense and just go out there, grind the game down to a halt, win a close game if they want to. But it is what it is. I really want to see the Broncos dial up this offensive attack, and getting the running game going first might actually help it.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where you want to try to fix things that aren't working so well when you have, a little bit of a lull in the schedule, and Denver starts the season with a little bit of a lull, and then it really picks up quickly. So you don't want to go into the Chargers, the Bengals, and the Eagles game with not having the run game. So maybe they're not able to do it, but I think that Sean Payton would love to walk out of this game with a 60-40 run ratio, as you said. And there are definitely some issues with it going into it. And it's just one of those things. And the big thing, again, one of the key matchups that I have, actually 2 of them really, is Ben Powers and Luke Wattenberg against T'Vondre Sweat, particularly with Luke Wattenberg. Luke Wattenberg doesn't have the strength to generate movement up front. And Ben Powers, has a bad habit of lunging into contact as a run blocker. And either against Jeffrey Simmons or Sebastian Joseph Day, who has been a really good player for them against the run, and they like to switch them back and forth. So either one of them, that can lead to some issues against the run. As long as they're not allowing them to blow up plays in the backfield, Denver might have some success. And again, take advantage of those edge defenders. You have Draymond Jones as a stand-up edge. He's not a great run defender. You have Arden Key as the other stand-up edge defender. He is a terrible run defender. Garrett Bull should be able to handle business there. And neither one of them should really, I'm hard on Adam Trotman, but Adam Trotman, if he isn't able to handle business against those edge rushers and it comes to it, then maybe it's time to part ways with him, because those are guys that any tight end should be able to handle, even Evan Ingram.
Well, I was stunned when going through the depth chart, just trying to prepare for the show earlier this afternoon, and I see that the Titans have Draymond Jones listed as an outside linebacker. I'm like, that's got to be a typo here. He's a hand in the dirt defensive end that's going to play like a 5, maybe a 7 technique at the widest. No, they actually have him standing up on the edge, coming from a 9. Like it's crazy to see a player at 280 pounds that doesn't have. It's
just a jumbo unit against the run.
I mean, I get it, but still, it was just like it was kind of shocking to see that, and like, what am I actually reading here? So I'm with you though, because like you said, Draymond Jones not the best run defender, and now that he's standing up and already vertical, he has pad level issues against the run. Get underneath him, Mike McGlinchey, and go knock him off the ball. That's what you do the best, buddy. So that I would attack that matchup right away.
Yeah, and now Is there any other matchups on the offense that you're curious about that you're really eyeballing? Because I have one, but I'll let you bring one up.
So for the Broncos offense, yes, I
Yeah.
want to see what Cortland Sutton's going to do against L'Jarius Sneed, who's coming off of an ankle injury. That's the big one here.
And still working back from it.
And
He
still
was
back.
limited in practice and all week, and he's questionable for the game, which means he'll likely play. But yeah, that's a good one.
You've got Cortland Sutton, who just got a big time extension over the course of the offseason. He's Bo Nix's binky. He's his favorite target, the guy that you're going to go to on third down if you need to. And L'Jarius Sneed, Cortland Sutton has had some success going against L'Jarius Sneed, who was formerly with the Kansas City Chiefs. So you already know that you have a good matchup there in one-on-one coverage. Absolutely go after him. The other one I'm kind of intrigued to see is what the Broncos are going to do with Evan Ingram over the middle of the field if they can isolate Cody Barton in coverage. Because Cody Barton,
either one.
But Cody Barton specifically, because we saw him in Denver last year, and it wasn't great. He was a serviceable player for sure. He had that pick 6 against the New Orleans Saints, which was kind of a broken play to begin with. So let's take that with a grain of salt as well here. But Evan Ingram being that runaway, speedy tight end mismatch that you can throw over the middle of the field going against Cody Barton or, like you said, Cedric Gray, I think that's an exploitable matchup for sure. And then the last one I have for the offense, what slot player are we going to see? Are we going to get Troy Franklin in the slot? Are we going to get Pat Bryant in the slot? Are we going to get Marvin Mims in the slot? Because they're going to go up against a guy in Roger McCreary, who I know that you loved coming out of the draft a couple of years ago coming from Auburn. He's a smaller, like feisty nickel cornerback, one of the better nickel players in the game. And if he can go against a guy like Marvin Mims, who struggles with contact throughout his route stems, Roger McCreary can really disrupt that timing between Bo Nix and Marvin Mims specifically.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not going to be one guy. They move their guys around unless they're choosing to shadow, which outside of Sneed shadowing Sutton, you don't typically shadow. So it's going to be Mims. It's going to be a little bit of Bryant. It's going to be a little Franklin. It's going to be a little bit of Sutton even. The one that I'm on, and you kind of touched on, and you touch on it, Evan Ingram against these linebackers, get them isolated, or even one of the safeties. Their safeties aren't great either. Yep. You have Xavier Woods and Amani Hooker. They're fine players, but they are not good. They're not great exactly in coverage. They're definitely exploitable, and Ingram is a guy who can. You do have to worry about Amani Hooker when he's playing that deep coverage and playing that deep zone. He's got range. He reads quickly, but when you can get him locked down in man or stuck on a guy, he's a little bit more problematic. He ended up grading out well from Pro Football Focus, but it's because he had 5 interceptions last year because of what he was able to do when he was playing that deep safety role with using that range for it.
But he's savvy too. Like, he knows how to bait quarterbacks. Like, he'll move with the quarterback's eyes, but he has that range to make up for even just the slightest little mistake. And he can go attack the football really well.
He'll throw him off. He'll cheat coverage one way and then use his speed and range to break back on the ball and make a play on it. But for me, and going off of Evan Ingram, it's Dobbins or Harvey off of the other linebacker.
Yeah.
I would rather getting it where Evan Ingram is on Cody Barton isolated, and then one of the running backs against Cedric Gray. Cedric Gray is a Alex Singleton type, not great in coverage, but he does really well working downhill between the tackles, which adds to that interior run defense that they have. But outside of the tackles, he doesn't have great range. He doesn't have great sideline to sideline speed. So I would love to get the running back isolated against Cedric Gray to be specific, and then Evan Ingram against it. Now we're going to flip sides to the Broncos defensive side of the ball and against the Titans offense. And we touched on one already, Nick Bonito against Dan Moore Jr. But I mean, you can go off of that and you can say Jonathan Cooper and Jonah Ellis against Dan Moore Jr. and JC Latham, the 3 edge rushers against either tackle, and seeing what they can do against Cam Ward and creating pressure, especially with his knack of dropping back in the coverage. So all 3 edge rushers against the offensive line. The interior, they should be able to handle business a little bit more. Skoronski should be able to limit Franklin Myers and Zietler, even though I don't think he's still one of the best guards in the NFL. He's still solid. He should be able to do well against Zach Allen. I think both defensive linemen will have their wins, but the biggest matchup, though, that I'm looking forward to, and it's not one where I'm worried about it, I'm just curious what Vance Joseph does. I want to see Vance Joseph have Patrick Surtain shadow Calvin Ridley all game long.
Yep, 100%. I agree with you 100% because much like Marvin Mims, Calvin Ridley doesn't do very well with contact throughout his route stem. And with the physicality that Surtain can play with, the size advantage that Surtain's going to have there, that's an absolute 100%. You follow Calvin Ridley around and erase him from the game plan and make him start to go and find these other targets. You've got Tyler Lockett coming over from the Seattle Seahawks, who's still a quality player and he can be used as a deep threat. But I think that Riley Moss can handle him fairly well enough.
Jaquan McMillan.
Jaquan McMillan could do that too, because Tyler Lockett plays a lot.
Tyler Lockett's going to be in the slot most of the time.
Yep. The big matchup here, though, and one that I'm kind of intrigued to see, like you said, you've got Calvin Ridley and Pat Surtain, Erick Maynard, their third wide receiver, going up against Riley Moss. That's just going to be a battle of some physicality, because Erick Maynard is one of the stronger catch point receivers that you've seen. He's a good slant route runner. Riley Moss does good driving towards the ball, especially over the middle of the field. That's going to be a really fun matchup to watch as well. I'm really excited to watch the secondary of this Broncos defense against these receivers, and I think they can pretty well lock down all three of them for the most part. The big one, though, this big matchup is especially without Dre Greenlaw. Chig Okonkwo, their tight end, is really the only player that scares me. But if you don't have a coverage player like Greenlaw, that could be something that Cam Ward could exploit in this Broncos defensive unit.
Yeah, and you kind of touched on one that I was interested about. I reached out to some Titans guys that I know, some Titans beat writers. Erick Omenor, he struggled in practice. A lot of the beat guys were a little bit surprised that he won the second job, because he was struggling with being consistent catching the ball during practices. And I didn't see it become much of an issue during the preseason with him, but it was something that every single person that I talked to that covers the Titans, that they said this was an issue with him, that they were surprised, that they thought other receivers were looking more consistent, and so on and so forth. So that is a good one. And then Chig Okonkwo with Dre Greenlaw, this is probably the biggest worry that I have now. Again, Broncos brought Dre Greenlaw in to make sure they can eliminate tight ends, that they can boost their coverage more so than run game. Dre Greenlaw does help against the run, but he was brought in to help the coverage. After what happened last year, after what Mike Gesicki did to them in that Bengals game, they didn't have that tight end to handle it. So Dre Greenlaw was brought in, and now he's gone. But the Broncos do have another potential answer in Talanoa Hufanga, who can drop down and play that. Maybe we see situations where a situation where the Broncos are playing a little bit more dime. Maybe they're bringing Hufanga down and using Jahdae Barron, who's not starting. We know that for sure. Jaquan McMillan came out today. He said, I'm the starting nickel. Maybe we see a little bit of that, because if you're missing Greenlaw, I'm not trusting Justin Strnad to eliminate Chig Okonkwo. Definitely not trusting Alex Singleton. It's Talanoa Hufanga is the one I'm going to be looking at, as Brandon Jones is kind of taking that more high safety role for the Broncos this year, especially with their cover 3 looks that Vance Joseph is loving to do. So I'm looking at him against Chig Okonkwo. I wrote about Dre Greenlaw because at the time it wasn't clear if he was going to be out or play or not. But I also mentioned that if he doesn't play, Hufanga is the guy that I'm looking at. Hufanga versus Okonkwo. Okonkwo, I think, is a very underrated tight end. He's not among the best. I think he's just right on the outside of top 10. And part of what drags him down is he offers nothing as a blocker, even less than Evan Ingram. I would take Julius Thomas as a run blocker over Chig Okonkwo. If anybody can remember, Julius Thomas, and dude was a liability as a run blocker. But I am nervous about he's such a talented receiving tight end. He is so good at breaking away and picking up first downs that if that he can be the guy that helps the Titans sustain drives, and that's the biggest part of the Titans offense that does worry me.
Yeah, he's so good after the catch. Like you said, he's super slippery, very difficult to bring down. But he also does a good job with his route running and his ability to create separation. Like, he's among the better tight ends in the league, just getting himself open. He works so well over the middle of the field. He does have a little bit of athleticism to him too, and he can run away from linebackers that just can't keep up with a player at his skill set. So that's really the one big thing. It's kind of funny. I didn't even think about Talanoa Hufanga. This defense is so good and they're so loaded with talent that it's like the one other big free agent piece that George Paton went out and got this offseason is the one that nobody really wants to talk about right now. Even though he just got made a team captain, everyone's worried about Dre Greenlaw and Malcolm Roach. Well, you've got plenty of depth on this roster, and Hufanga is one of the more versatile defensive backs, at least close to the line of scrimmage, that you can find in the NFL right now. He's such a solid tackler. He can turn and run with pretty much anybody. He's an absolutely elite blitzer coming from the second level as well. So you want to talk about a dude that reminds everybody of Troy Polamalu, not quite the high-flying, over-the-top of the offensive line player, but a dude that can just wear so many hats for your defense and just force himself to get around the football at all times. Like, sure, there's the injury concern with the knee from a couple of years ago. He had the wrist injury last year. But from all accounts of everybody that's been at Broncos training camp, who's seen him working in practice, the little bit of action that you got to see with him playing in the preseason, this dude is just a freaking playmaker, and he's one of the better players that you have on this defense, and no one wants to talk about him. So I am excited for that. That could be a really good tight end eraser there, Eric. That's a good shout.
Yeah, and we have David T coming in, a member on YouTube, also giving a super chat. Hope everything's going good, David. I know you've been in the hospital. Thoughts are with you. Says, evening, guys. Do you think Evan Ingram will have a big game? I think he very well could. I think he's got a very favorable matchup for him. It's just, do the Broncos go out there and execute to do it? If the Broncos had this, kid, you can talk about this as a hot take or whatever. If the Broncos have 100-yard receiver and only one, I would say that it's going to be Evan Ingram over anybody else.
That is kind of an interesting take, because I have one that's probably even hotter than that.
Well, we'll get to bold takes and hot takes here in a minute. Okay. I was just throwing that out there to answer David's question of, I could see it happening. I think that he's got such a favorable matchup that Denver just has to go out there and execute. He can't drop passes like he did in the preseason. He dropped that one against the Saints.
Yeah.
But it's definitely set up for him to have a big game. And we have Kyle Berenz coming in saying, spent all the money just to have Alex Singleton as a starter. Alex Singleton was always a starter. Two linebackers. It was Dre Greenlaw and Alex Singleton. The issue is we spent all that money on Dre Greenlaw and just to have Justin Cernod as a starter for the season. But it is what it is. Hopefully it's going to be a water on the bridge, just a precaution, worry about it later. One thing too that I'm a little bit curious about is going back to the injuries real quick. Malcolm Roach, with the calf strain that he has, grade 2, that typically has a 4 to 8 week recovery time. Do the Broncos put him on injured reserve and use that to bring up somebody else off the practice squad and, do that? And on that note, for the Titans, we do know who their 2 practice squad call-ups are going to be. No surprise with Dre Greenlaw out. Lavelle Bailey, he's being called up. And then Adam Prentice, the fullback, he's being called up. So we know that as well. Now, Lance, before we switch over to the bold prediction stuff, is there any other matchups against this Titans offense that you're for the Broncos that you're looking at?
I'm really kind of curious to see what this interior offensive line looks against DJ Jones in the running game. And I know that's kind of fresh meat off the bone here. Eric, I know that you had issues with DJ Jones in run defense specifically last season. I thought he was a little bit better than you did. But
no. I never thought he was bad, just to be clear.
Okay.
He just wasn't as great as he made it out to be, as a lot of people made it out to be.
There are people saying
that's backed by multiple analytics and stats and everything, and just watching the games. He was a very solid run defender, and if you're looking at top 32 nose tackles, he's definitely in the top 16. He's just not top 10, and so many people made him out to be top 10, and he just wasn't.
I was going to say there's a bunch of Buffalo Bills people that were watching DJ Jones in the playoff game. They're like, man, this guy would be a huge addition and a huge upgrade to the Bills defensive line. They should make him a priority.
Which is funny because he absolutely got dominated that game.
It was horrible. It was terrible. But regardless, like you've got Skoronski, who I really liked coming out of Northwestern a couple of years ago. You've got Kevin Zeitler, who, like you said, it may be showing those signs of decline, but I think he scored a 90 plus PFF grade last season. So there's hit and miss looks there. And Lloyd Cushenberry developed a lot as a run blocker. He struggled a little bit, but the issues that he had in Denver were really kind of overcome his first season in Tennessee. Then he got hurt, missed the rest of the season, and that just kind of sucks for them. But DJ Jones and also Jordan Jackson, who seems to be probably the guy that they're going to keep on the game day actives list to be that rotational player behind Jones as that nose tackle. Maybe we'll see some Ayomo Lazarique. But the way that they run their power game with Skoronski and Lloyd Cushenberry, I could see that being an issue, especially with Greenlaw being out. So to me, that's probably the best one that I have for you there. I want to kind of get back into the Tyler Lockett aspect here, working in the slot with Jaleel McLaughlin's issue in man coverage that he had last season, especially
Jaquan
with
McMillan.
Jaquan McMillan. Sorry, I said Jaleel. I do that all the time. I switch those.
It's one. I've done that a couple times. I think Nick's done it a couple times. It happens.
Yeah. But Jaquan McMillan, his issues in man coverage last season, especially against speedier and shiftier receivers. Tyler Lockett, he may not be a guy that can go sideline to sideline like that anymore, especially coming out of his breaks and everything. But in terms of the deep speed aspect that he can still bring to this offense, that to me has something that I have just a little an antenna up wiggling about that matchup there. So other than that, though, honestly, I'm not scared of this Titans offense at all. And I think that a big reason why is that my biggest key matchup is going to be Cam Ward against Vance Joseph. What exactly is Vance Joseph going to do to try to light Cam Ward up in his first start on the road in a very hostile environment where not only do you have a hostile crowd, but you also have the altitude that you have to deal with? Like, it's going to be a crazy, crazy first game for a rookie. And I believe it was Nick Kosmider with The Athletic had this stat a couple of days ago. Going back to 2020, there's been 17 starts by NFL rookie quarterbacks on the road. Those rookie quarterbacks are 2-15 in those games. It's been a bad showing for these rookie quarterbacks. But Vance Joseph and how aggressive he is playing tight man coverage and sending exotic blitzes, 5- and 6-man pressures all the time. What is he going to do to get Cam Ward off of his spot, make him run around behind the line of scrimmage and just attack him with that pass rush and make him force those tight window throws that rookie quarterbacks just typically don't have in their bag, and especially their first start. So that to me is easily the biggest matchup of the game and the one reason why I'm not scared of this Tennessee Titans offense in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, Lockett versus McMillan, to touch on that, is an interesting one. There's been a lot of talk. I know a lot of people are worried about Za'Dar Barron not winning the starting nickel job, but there's been a lot of talk that how much McMillan's improved. Obviously, I want to see it in game. He didn't play a whole lot in the preseason. If I remember right, he actually played the fewest amount of snaps on defense out of everyone.
Yeah, you actually told me that.
That played, not including guys who didn't play, like Alex Singleton and Dre Greenlaw, but guys who actually played, he played the fewest, which is shocking. I'm not sure if that still holds true because I think that was before. I think that was before the Saints game, though. Going into the Saints game, so I'm not sure if it still holds true, but he was among the fewest. And so I'm really curious to see how much he improved, because I could see it where Denver's, betting on those improvements, relying on the veteran guy instead of the rookie who made rookie mistakes throughout camp and even in the preseason. With internally they have Super Bowl hopes, but I also wouldn't be surprised if McMillan struggles against Lockett that they make a switch. So I'm really curious about that. Now, before we get into the bold predictions and hot takes, we have William Catalano coming in saying, Eric and Lance, what do you think of us switching over to a wide zone scheme? How long do you think it'll be before the O-line gets it down decently good? They're not switching over to an outside zone scheme. They're just adding elements of it to it. Sean Payton's base is still a inside gap power scheme. That's still what it is. Still some inside. He's had some inside zone in it last year. He's always had some inside zone in it. He's just adding elements to his run concept. They're not switching over fully to it. And it's not a thing of, we have David T saying, I hope that they learn the zone blocking quickly. I think they have it down. The issue is executing it. And that can be a little bit bigger of an issue, because you can know what your landmarks are. You can know where you're supposed to hit, where you're supposed to be, than going out there and doing it in a game where people are pushing back against you. That's a little bit different. So I think it's going to take some time, but that's part of the reason why I think that Sean Payton's going to, lizard spam the outside zone stuff a little bit against the Titans here for it. Now, Lance, jumping in, bold prediction. Okay. I'm going to ask you for two of them. I'm going to give two of them, one on each side of the ball. So I hope you have one set and ready. A bold prediction for the Broncos offense. It could be for the offense as a whole or just one player against the Titans defense.
So we were talking about Evan Ingram earlier and how the possibility is there for him to have a huge game. I'm going to go to a different player on the offense, specifically in the skill positions. at wide receiver. I mentioned his name a little bit going up against Roger McCreary. Marvin Mims, I think, is going to have a massive, massive game because I think Sean Payton has been kind of hiding him a little bit from everything that we've been told, everything we've seen in training camp. They really didn't utilize him a whole lot, which makes me believe that either one, Mims has not developed, or two, they're hiding everything they possibly can because they have a big time plan for him. I actually am going to start Marvin Mims in a fantasy league. Nobody cares about my fantasy league, but I think that this first game, Sean Payton's going to open up the playbook and get Marvin Mims some design touches, some designed open looks, get him the ball in some space, and see if he can really take that next step as a second wide receiver in this offense. I am excited about Marvin Mims this week. Big time. I think he's going to get 2 touchdown catches and have a big time punt return, maybe even take one to the house because this special teams unit for the Tennessee Titans was one of the worst in the league last season. So I'm predicting a huge game for Marvin Mims this week.
So is it particularly Marvin Mims in the Princess Leia outfit, the slave Princess Leia outfit, or
what do you mean?
You said you had fantasies about starting fantasies with Marvin Mims.
Oh my good Lord, man. Seriously?
Yes.
That went way over my head. No,
obviously.
I drafted Marvin Mims in a fantasy football league, and I'm making a bold take here that Marvin Mims is going to have a big week this week because I think that Sean Payton is like, I'm going to unveil the new shiny toy. We've got Evan Ingram, who's going to take a lot of pressure off over the middle of the field, and they're going to unleash Marvin Mims down the field, and it's going to be huge.
Lance, we've been doing this together for far too long because you said not the same thing or about the same player, but you said a thing that was part of my reason. Sean Payton loves the shiny new toys. My bold prediction for the offense, and it's one that I wrote up. I think the article will be coming out tomorrow. RJ Harvey goes for over 100.
Hey, there we go. That's be the first time since what, 2021?
I don't know. Murray. It's been a long ass time.
It's Latavius Murray against the Raiders was the last time that the Broncos had a 100-yard rusher. I think that was 2021.
Yeah, that's it. RJ Harvey goes for over 100 yards, and I believe in specifically what I added is that it's grinded out a little bit, but he has at least 3 rushes of 10 or more yards. I think is what it was. 3 explosive runs. So that's my bold prediction for the offense. RJ Harvey, he comes in. Sean Payton's shiny new toy. I believe that he wants to spam it. I believe he's going to try to spam it. And I believe it's going to be, again, I'll reference it. It's just going to be Harvey there for the first couple quarters.
Good day.
And Dobbins will get his mix in there too, especially when they want to try to keep things off balance for the Titans. But I believe that's going to be a lot of Harvey on it. Now switching over to the defense, I'll go first on this one. I have a team one for this defense.
Okay,
and it deals with something that we've talked about and we've talked about it a lot. Nick Bonito against Dan Moore. Nick Bonito against J.C. Latham. Jonah Ellis against either one. Jonathan Gilbert against either one. This Broncos defense sacks Cam Ward at least 8 times.
Oh, so you went even further because that was mine. That was going to be mine. I was going to say that they're going to sack Cam Ward at least 6 times. So you went even further than I was going to go. That's ridiculous. I'll go back to the secondary here, though, because I like the matchups from this Broncos secondary with Calvin Ridley and Pat Surtain. You've got Riley Moss on Elikai Maynard. You've got Jaquan McMillan or Jahdae Barron against Tyler Lockett. They're not only going to sack Cam Ward 6 times, they're going to pick him off 3 times.
Hey, that was mine. I have 4 total. I have 4 total takeaways for this: 3 interceptions and a fumble recovery off a strip sack.
That was good. That was going to be it. And this is a great.
We've been doing this for far too long.
Yes, we have. Eric and I. It's been. Dude, you realize that we've had this show going. I understand. I missed a handful of months.
We're coming up on year 6.
This is it's already year 6. This is year 6. We started in August of 2019.
Oh yeah, August 2019. That's right.
Yep. That was so. I met my wife 3 weeks before we started the podcast. I met her in mid July. We started. It was right through the first week of training camp of 2019. Our first show was breaking down Garrett Bowles and the struggles that he had and all the holding penalties that he had. It was literally our very first show. Speaking of the show and speaking of how long we've been doing this, Gene William jumping in here saying, we're going to break another Cam. Can't wait. if you guys go on to Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you guys get your Dove Valley Deep Divers content, all of our Mile High Huddle shows, by the way, the Mile High Huddle Podcast Network, anywhere you guys can get it. If you listen to Dove Valley Deep Divers, the intro is Jim Nantz calling Von Miller's second sack against the Carolina Panthers in Super Bowl 50. I swear to you, it's been that for like 5 years now. Because when we first started the show, it was audio only. We didn't do the live shows. So Chad, when he got our bumper intro, he got it made. That's Jim Nantz calling Von Miller. Von Miller did it again. Yeah. So we're gonna break another camp. That's just a really cool tie-in. I appreciate this comment from Gene here.
Now we still have about 10 minutes here.
Yeah.
We could either go give a third bold prediction, either offense or defense, or we can just get into our score predictions. What do you want to do? We've gotten some score predictions, and if anybody in the chat has any comments, feel free to go ahead and give them.
Yeah, guys, throw in a bold prediction.
Give us your bold predictions. Yeah.
We can. Like Eric said, we got about 10 minutes before we got to close the show. We still got plenty of time here. Super chat, stars, donations, the easiest way to make sure that we can see everything. I'm sure this chat's going to pop off here really fast. But Eric, I want another.
We need somebody to post something in chat to see if something works for us on our end.
I was going to say, the chat kind of died for a second there. Anybody?
There we go. We have William Catalano. Should be able to see it on the screen now. William Catalano with a 24-10 score prediction. I'm just going to get into it. My score prediction is not far off from William Catalano's. I have Denver scoring 24. I don't have the Titans scoring a touchdown. I have them scoring 3 field goals, 24-9. That's my score prediction.
So, guys, all of our score predictions at Mile High Huddle, they are up on milehighhuddle.com right now. The Mile High Huddle Roundtable, you got everybody, the whole staff has made their score predictions and picks. I have the Broncos winning this game. Like I said, I think Marvin Mims is going to have a huge game, 2 touchdowns receiving, maybe even a punt return if you can get one there. Bo Nix throws another one, and I'm going to say Cortland Sutton gets a third. You're going to get a rushing touchdown from R.J. Harvey, a field goal added at the tail end of the game from Will Lutz. The Broncos are going to win this game. They're favored by 8.5 points, guys. They're going to triple that. They're going to win it 38-10 is my score prediction. This is going to be an absolute blowout of a football game. I don't think I've been this confident in saying, especially coming into week 1, knowing where the Broncos roster is at, what they did last year, what this Tennessee Titans team is right now with a rookie quarterback, what they did last year being obviously the number 1 overall pick. I don't think I've ever been this confident going into a season in the last 10 years. Seriously, I'm so stoked and so excited to see what's going to happen here on Sunday afternoon at 2:00 at Mile High Stadium. I cannot wait, guys.
Yeah, we have a bunch more coming in. We have Jose saying 31-10. We have Gene Williams saying 10-31, 31-17, says Paul. Some of you guys, I'm seeing your things, and I know you've been around here a while, not seeing that YouTube membership symbol. You guys get that cool little symbol for it. You can earn points and stuff like that too. It's really cool.
And you get exclusive content too, guys.
Lance, haven't seen you. It's been forever since he's caught you live. So yeah, I mean, I think that might do it for us, but we appreciate you guys coming in. But before we get out of here, we do have some words. Richie Rich coming in saying 33-13. David T 31-13. Again, some big scores. I'm interested to see I don't know it off the top of my head, the history of week 1 scores. Especially since they went to 17 games and the one less preseason game, I can't think of a blowout game like that off the top of my head where it was like 30 plus against sub 15. I know there's been a couple shootouts, but I haven't seen those. So that would be surprising to see going off yours. What yours was. Week 1 though, I'm predicting a little bit of some rough moments for the Broncos offense as they're still putting stuff together and whatnot. And Paul saying you guys rock. Definitely we do, if I can say so myself. But as I said, we got to get out of here. So before we do that, of course, make sure, first of all, that you guys go and become a member on MHH at YouTube at youtube.com/milehighhuddle. Become a member on there. You guys can get access to exclusive content that we have out on it, including Kelberman's Corner and the Broncos Book Club, or what I can't think of the name of it now off the top of my head, that Chad does. And I know there's others that are in the works that we're talking about doing and stuff like that. So make sure you guys do that. You guys can always support with stars and chats, or stars on Facebook and super chats on YouTube. And we appreciate those so much. And you guys make sure you guys subscribe, like, and share no matter what platform you're on. It is one way that you can help us with the algorithms that are ever changing and ever being frustrating, especially on YouTube. YouTube is the worst when it comes to changing their algorithms with what they pick up and put on feeds for everybody. And I know for that a lot of times we're watched by people who aren't even more so higher percentage of people who aren't even subscribed to Mile High Huddle actually watch on YouTube after the fact than people who are subscribed on YouTube. Because algorithms and stuff like that can be such an issue with it. If you guys are able to do so, make sure you guys go over to Spotify or Apple Podcasts and leave a 5-star review for a chance to win some gear, not swag. I hate saying swag every single month. You can get hats like this, shirts, all sorts of stuff, any kind of swag. You guys can follow us on Instagram at Mile High Huddle with an underscore between mile and high and huddle. And you can go to mhhmerch.com to get your gear on, not swag. Again, I hate saying swag. Again, hats like this, mugs. I got to get around to getting myself a Broncos for breakfast hat, Lance, because I feel awkward wearing this one in the morning shows. You guys can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/MileHighHuddle, facebook.com/MileHighHuddlePod, where you guys can get access to our wonderful Facebook community that we have built up over the last 10 years, 11 years, something like that, of us doing this. And we have built up such a great community over on Facebook. So you guys can go join that and get access to all of our written content. Make sure you guys are also following on Twitter or X, whatever it is you want to call it. You can follow Lance or myself at Erick Trickel for me, at Lance S_MHH for Lance. Also, make sure you're following at DVDD_pod and at MHH pod and at Mile Huddle. Again, you can guys get access to all of our written content there. Again, become a member on MHH YouTube. I already talked about that. You guys get that cool little symbol. You guys can earn points, get access to the exclusive content that we have on. And this is, again, one of the many Mile High Huddle podcasts that we have. We have one every single day of the week and twice in the morning. And I know that here and soon things are going to be changing for the mornings. I think we're going to be going a little bit earlier, or same time for you guys, earlier for me. I can't remember exactly how it is. But I know that I'm going to end up having to be up at 4:30 in the morning for those shows instead of 5:30, hour earlier, because Nick, they had to move and are moving. Again, boo Iowa, boo Nick. But anyways, no, I love Nick. He's a good friend of mine. But Lance, that's going to do it for us tonight. We appreciate everybody in the chat. But before we get out of here, Lance, any final words?
Sorry, I was just taking every matchup and breaking it down for you, not having a conversation with you, dude. Like, you have no clue how excited I am to just be able to talk real football, not just speculative stuff. Like, we have an opportunity to watch a game this week, and I'm just so excited, man. Like, I'm also kind of used to doing the shorter shows. We've only been doing the hour shows here for the last couple of weeks, and I missed last week. So you guys know
we didn't do a show last week.
I know. But you guys know me. I have a loud voice and a strong opinion, and I like the way both of them sound. So I'm gonna use it when I have the opportunity to. But no, it was a great show tonight, man. Thank you for having me along with you, like we always do every single week. I'm just excited for this weekend, quite honestly. We got a great slate of college football games up tomorrow. Obviously, the NFL week starts week 1 here on Sunday as well. Red Zone with commercials sucks, but it is what it is. But no, just excited to be here, to be back in football season where we should always be, where we all belong, and excited for the season, man. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm super excited for the season. Even if I don't show it, I am extremely tired. But I am really excited for it. And part of the reason why I'm so tired is because I'm so excited for the season. I mean, on Wednesday morning, I was up at 4:30 in the morning. I went in and I got an article ready, did the live show. And then normally after the live show, I go and I try to get like an hour or 2 nap in before getting up and going about the rest of the day. Well, the kiddo's still asleep, Buggy. And I didn't. I stayed in the office and I worked and I did my prep work for the Titans and watched more of them and more of their tape. And so I was excited. I just, 2-3 hours of sleep from Tuesday night to Wednesday morning set me back on the whole week. So I'm excited for it. I can't wait to be on Monday morning to talk about the game after the fact. It's going to be fun. It's the first time in a long time that I've been, it hasn't been a Friday after that I've been able to talk. I get to talk about it the next day. So I'm super excited for that. I'm not sure if Nick's going to be with me or if it's going to be Dylan, but either way, it's going to be one of the two, and we're going to be having a great time breaking down this game. Hopefully it goes well. Hopefully we are able to be really positive and not really hammer away at some of the negatives, because Denver looks just so good. But we will see with that. Before we get out here, again, thank you to everybody who came in and starred. Phil, Michael, Ronquillo. We have Papa Bear who came in and super chatted. David who came in and super chatted. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate you, everybody who's a member, like David and Papa Bear. And, again, David, let's see here. Who are some other members that we have? Joey coming in.
Was
Hot
Deanna
take:
in
Denver will be
tonight?
comfortable in the fourth, and Barron will feast. Let's see. I know there's much more, but they must be towards some. Mike Thompson came in before we went live. String Guy came in. Pearl Heater was here at the start. It was a little bit of a slow night. David Youngkin, a little bit of a slow night with the chat, but that's understandable. Football is on right now, and it is the Chargers and the Chiefs. But guys, thank you guys so much for tuning in. It was a wonderful night, a wonderful conversation. We appreciate you all so very much. You guys are such good supporters of the shows every single week. But that's going to do it for us. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful weekend. Don't drink and drive. Make sure you choose kindness and compassion. And Broncos football is back. Go Broncos. Beat the freaking Titans.